we're trying to take a look at position groups, position by position, breaking it all down. And one thing that could really help a young quarterback be tight end. Sure hands, good tight end.
Yeah.
And when you look
insurance policy.
Yeah, man. And when you look at what Washington did this offseason at the tight end position, they let Logan Thomas go. I don't think that's a surprise. Whenever there's a regime change in the NFL, look for veterans with high cap numbers and no guaranteed money. And generally, those guys get released. It's not always the case, but it often is the case. Logan landed out in San Fran, I believe, which is potentially a great spot for him if he can stay healthy. To answer the bell, and they actually did it before free agency even opened because he was available. Washington signed veteran tight end Zach Ertz.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Ertz was in Arizona when Kingsbury was out there. The 2021 Arizona Cardinals were the best team Kingsbury had. They went 11-5 in the regular season.
Right.
That offense played well. In 11 games in Arizona, because if you remember, Philly traded him before the deadline to the Cardinals. 11 games in Arizona, Ertz had 56 catches on 81 targets for 574 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Okay.
Average about 10 yards per catch. If you extrapolate that out, probably gets you to like 70, 75 catches over a 16-game season.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the problem is he wasn't able to stay healthy in Arizona. And at this stage, he's going to be 34, I believe. He'll turn 34 in November. Zach Ertz is a Super Bowl champ, former Pro Bowler. Listen, if you are a Commanders fan, and whatever they were called prior, you know how much Zach Ertz tortured this franchise when he was with Philly.
He did.
How do you feel about Zach Ertz?
I think Zach, for me, really, I think Zach is here more as a guy who they hope still can play. Because when he's healthy, he's effective. I think he's here more to teach a culture.
I think maybe even teach an offense, too, because he's been in Cliff's system.
And that's part of it. I mean, like, the culture thing, we think it's like just the way someone acts. No. Culture is basically everything. The offense, the way you handle yourself, the way you prepare yourself, all those things fall into it. And I think that's why he's here, because Cliff saw something in him that he likes. And he feels that these other guys could benefit from him. That's why I think they brought him in.
Ertz has talked to the media maybe 2 or 3 times now. He's been impressive. But one thing I liked, and I'm curious if you agree with this, he talked about kind of having this chip on his shoulder and wanting to prove to the league, to the doubters, to himself, to his family, whoever, that he can still do it. That he can still play at a high level. And, I watched OTAs and minicamp. He runs clean routes. He's got good footwork. And what he's really good at is, and you see this with a veteran, he's a big fella, right?
Yeah.
Ertz is 6'5", 250.
Yeah.
The best tight ends can use their body to create separation and turn back to the quarterback. You got a quarterback that's going to throw it to a spot, and you will turn back to him, kind of boxing out the defender to make that catch.
Just like a center in basketball.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Ertz isn't going to beat many people deep anymore. I don't know what kind of yak we're talking about, those things, but he's sure-handed and runs good routes. I think Ertz can help you, and especially when you combine his familiarity with Kingsbury and kind of the culture guy he is. Is he definitively better or worse than Logan Thomas might have been? I don't know. They're both coming off major injuries.
We'll say the same thing. Logan, as good as he could be, was injured a lot.
Right. Ertz did it more consistently over the course of his career.
Yeah, and I think that's the ultimate thing. And I think, listen, man, as much as people like when a new thing come in, some of the things that went down that you hear that he was involved with, a lot of coaches don't want that on their team.
They also obviously drafted Ben Sennett, the kid from Kansas State. Impressive 6'4", 250. Last year, 49 catches, 676 yards, 6 touchdowns for the Wildcats. Versatile player. I think they'll try to move him around a lot, move him, wherever they think they can get an advantage.
Mhm.
I just caution rookie tight ends don't usually take off right away. Um, Even a guy like George Kittle, his rookie season had 43 catches for 515 yards. And then the following year that exploded to 1,400 yards.
Yeah, but 43 receptions as a rookie,
It's
that I mean, I think
that's
sometimes
really contributed.
that's really getting it done because you have to learn this thing. They're not gonna walk out as a rookie and automatically jump to 80 to 90 receptions.
Right.
So you gotta grow somewhere. And if you get Senate comes in and he can block and catch and he ends up with 47 receptions, I think that's success.
Now, it's also worth saying Sam Laporta last year, drafted early in the second round by the Lions out of Iowa, I believe. All these guys come from Iowa.
Tight end central, buddy.
86 catches for 890 yards. Basically,
Yeah.
900 yards, 10 touchdowns. So you can be a rookie tight end that comes in and kills it.
Yeah, but if you're a major part of the game plan and that's what they wanted him to be, Senate may not be that. He may end up being something else. Like, depending on what offense you're in is how you're going to be utilized. And I think if we expect every rookie to get 80 receptions, then we're not looking at it in the proper manner.
I think anything north of 35 is pretty good.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you're like, I've seen guys in offenses that they just don't flourish. Like when Jeremy Shockey,
Now, he was a second rounder.
when
53rd
Jeremy
overall
Shockey
pick.
first came out, Jeremy Shockey was a guy who can get open, and they started going to him. They fed him, so of course he's gonna have better stats than a guy where they're throwing it to the receivers,
Right.
getting it to the running backs before they look at him. So it comes down to what do your coaches consider you to be? I don't know if they're considering Senate to be like
Could be like
Laporta
a
or
use
like a
check
Shockey.
role, too,
Yeah.
where I think they want his physicality. I mean, the other thing I think they can really improve on is the blocking from the tight end position. I think Logan Thomas led them in targets last year as for tight ends, 49 catches on 83 targets, 518 yards. Logan was really starting to play well until that incredible cheap shot in Denver. I think that was only week 2, but like he started hot and then took him a while after the concussion, which was, a second or third concussion for Logan.
Mhm.
Going further down the roster, Landfill, you probably want me to break here. We'll finish off the Commanders roster at tight end position because you still got Bates, you've got the kid Armani returning, Rogers. So there are other ways this can all shake out. And how are you going to count Senate on your active? We're going to examine that